I'm a bird, mother. I'm a bird.
Star Wars Outlaws, humiliating PC release cuts key features of game instead of fixing them.
Hey, what's up guys, Rip here. So today we're going to be once again kicking it old school and using a PNG instead of the VTuber model because I'm in my final day of travels and my potato laptop gets about 3 FPS and can't handle the VTuber model, which will be returning tomorrow. But for today, let's jump into the related topics, which is going to be once again Ubisoft. We all know that Ubisoft has been having a nightmarish 2024 where they've had nearly double-digit AAA titles flop, but the biggest flops among them are their big budget projects like Skull and Bones with reportedly a near $1 billion budget just to end up with Concord-like numbers. The other big flop was of course Assassin's Creed Shadows, which hasn't released yet but has been mocked and ridiculed and delayed into 2025 despite being promised to investors as a big part of their 2024 financial.
The amount of lies they gave to the investors in 2024 alone honestly has to be some record.
Lineup. And then of course the other big flop is Star Wars Outlaws, which was a much anticipated release that did not perform very well. In fact, it only sold just about 1 million copies after the first month of release, which for many games would be a success, but for this title with probably hundreds of millions of dollars invested into it was a...
Yeah, so when you release a game, the first month is the most crucial month. Like, the first month is when the sales have to be at the peak. You will not peak after the first month.
Major disappointment. According to many sources who are knowledgeable on this sort of stuff, typically with a budget like that, you need at least 4 or 5, maybe even 6 or 7 million copies sold just to break even. So this was a unmitigated disaster for Ubisoft.
But yet, how many specific quote-unquote journalists we've seen say, oh, Star Wars is a success, it sold this and this many copies. Honey, it's not enough. It's not enough to even break even.
No, it's unrealistic.
Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Recently, there's been some good news for Ubisoft and Star Wars Outlaws.
A lot of people keep saying that, well, why are you so pressed about Star Wars being nominated? Because the numbers do not add up. A lot of these game awards, so what? We saw the nominations for the Games Awards and we saw the Golden Joystick stuff already. The numbers, the units sold, the active players, the peak players, they just don't add up to other games. Especially like specific games that are winning over other games. Not gonna name them. The numbers just don't add up. It just mathematically doesn't make sense.
Outlaws, they have been nominated for an award at the Game Awards of 2024. Now, we've talked about the Game Awards recently, and yeah, it turns out that Star Wars Outlaws has been nominated for Best Action and Adventure Game of 2024. You can see the other titles listed there: Astrobot, Silent Hill 2, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and also Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, which is a very interesting one. We haven't really talked about this title. It's another Ubisoft release that is a unmitigated disaster, as you might expect.
I don't even understand how Prince of Persia got nominated. Nobody freaking talks about it or cares about that game. This year's like Game Awards are genuinely just so out of touch.
At this point, in fact, it's been reported that they sold just around 1 million copies of this game, which arguably had a big budget as well. And on top of that, Ubisoft announced with their own words that this was a disappointment in terms of sales, and they've pretty much disbanded the entire team that was around this game. They canceled any.
But hey, let's give them a nomination to, make them feel better.
Sequels to this game, and have moved all the related parties who worked on Prince of Persia to other titles at Ubisoft, so that obviously didn't go very well. But let's return to some other news. So it was reported some time ago, a few months ago, that Star Wars Outlaws was going to be going to Steam. It was going to release on PC on November 21st, which is of course yesterday as of recording right now. And that is something that we've seen a lot with Ubisoft and other developers recently, where they are doing very fast Steam releases for PC because it seems like they're trying to bolster their sales. We saw this with Dragon Age the Veilguard, where they released it on Steam simultaneously with other platforms, which is unusual for BioWare, for example, who normally waits up to even 6 years as they did with Inquisition. But anyways, we have approached the official release, and as you can see, it is live now on Steam with mostly positive reviews, and you can see...
Oh, not anymore. Not anymore. It's already at mixed on Steam.
Yep.
You can get it for a cheap, a cool $52 starting off, and you can still get that wonderful Ultimate Edition months after release for a steal, ladies and gentlemen, 25% off at $97.49. How could you resist such a deal right there? But what are the numbers looking like? Well, as of recording this video, about 24 hours into the release, the all-time peak is at 1,100 players. Failing.
So right now it's at 1,645 peak and currently 1,402 playing.
Yeah, that's peak. There's no more. That's it, guys.
Even
That's as far as it goes.
even still, all the numbers, all the units sold, it doesn't even break even for them.
To get about 2 times the number of Concord, but again, as always, this is great if you're some random indie company, but for Star Wars Outlaws and Ubisoft releasing this game on Steam only a few months after its official release, these are very disappointing numbers. Like, there's no way to get around it. It's not good. It's disappointing. And I don't think these numbers will jump much higher. I would anticipate maybe gets around like 1,500, maybe 2,000 all-time peak. But at this point, not looking great. And that's not too surprising. Now, the big question is, with all the bugs and the endless compilations of people posting just terrible gameplay and buggy mechanics from Star Wars Outlaws months ago when it was released to the traditional platforms, how are things going to be remedied for the PC release? Did they fix anything? Because there's a lot. There is a lot that had to be fixed. Let's look at some of the greatest hits.
Star Wars Outlaws low sales have nothing to do with those, you know, as journalists like to call them, grifters. There's just so much outreach they can possibly have. The majority of people, they are not sitting terminally online. They look at the game and make their own decision.
Yeah.
So this just means people collectively, they looked at the trailers, they looked at the game preview and decided, no, I'm gonna sit this one out.
So thanks to Nick Tech and others who basically did the service of playing this game so you didn't have to collect some of the awful mechanics. The biggest failure and the buggiest failure of Star Wars Outlaws was the stealth gameplay, and that is something we're going to talk about because they have...
Yeah, didn't they temporarily remove the stealth stuff, like the quests and stuff like that? Because of the issues it had?
Yep.
quote-unquote fixed that for the PC release, but let's see some examples of what this amazing stealth gameplay looks like. If the hotel Wi-Fi can do it.
It could not. Okay.
Brother, what? Wait, that person was straight sprinting.
What?
Yeah, as you can see, not great. It looks terrible, in fact. And Ubisoft, in response to those issues, always promised that they were going to fix the stealth gameplay. Well, it appears that they have, quote-unquote, fixed the stealth gameplay with the PC release by just outright removing it. And yeah, even IGN is acknowledging.
Hey guys, why won't you buy our games? We'll mess it up so hard, we'll just remove actual part of the game.
They literally just took out a laser cutter and just out of the like content from their games.
You mean the lightsaber?
Yes, the lightsaber. Just
Acknowledging that the stealth requirements have been completely gutted. They pretty much removed the entire functionality of that from the game, just to, instead of fix the issues, they just remove them entirely, which is insane, right? And there's been other issues too on top of that. There was this funny clip too from other people like Nick Tech, for example, where for a game that focuses a lot on guns, it seems to have a lot of issues moving guns. You can see anytime you encountered a ladder in this game, your gun, it wasn't coming with you, as you can see, right? It would just be left behind, and that's a terrible glitch. Now, some people have reported that the gun issues, well, they've been fixed, at least with ladders. You can bring your gun with you up and down ladders. What a giant fix for Ubisoft.
Crazy.
But as always,
Wild.
you know, if anyone's cheering, and this user right here is not doing it.
Quadra A company
Yup.
at its finest, the peak. But hey, according to Ubisoft, our expectations are way too high. We gotta lower it.
Yup. My belt isn't working. Better remove my pants. That's the same energy. That's really the same energy.
By the way, but some people are cheering on these fixes, right? They're saying, wow, look at Ubisoft go. They fixed all these issues surrounding Star Wars Outlaws. They fixed the stealth gameplay. They fixed little bugs like this with the guns going up ladders. But why is that happening now, months later on the PC release? Why wasn't this fixed initially in the first couple of months since release? And more importantly, why was it in the game at all? Why was this terrible buggy gameplay allowed to go public in the first place? That's already a mistake.
Money.
But then all these months later, they
Money.
finally get around by basically just gutting half of the issues. And now they want praise, and people are actually unironically defending Star Wars Outlaws and saying that they've done something good here. No, they've done the bare minimum, which is literally fix core components of the game that were completely busted. This whole thing is an absolute joke, but
Still baffles me that we are in a time where unfinished games are being published in full price mode and higher than we had, like, let's say even 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to applaud them, like give them a standing ovation for them not even fixing, but, you know, putting a band-aid over it for something that should not even be there.
as I said earlier, the numbers for this are just atrocious at the moment. And yeah, there's really nothing else to say about Star Wars Outlaws. I don't anticipate it doing much more than it already is in terms of numbers. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next.
Yeah, this game was a bust. It's gonna remain a bust. And even if they fix it, it's too late. It shouldn't even have been released like this.